abandon free market principles to save the free market system.
In a world of conventional confusion,
there will be time for them to make profits. Now's not that time.
Daddy, what do taxes pay for?
Oh, why, everything. Policemen, trees, sunshine. And let's not forget the folks who just don't feel like working, God bless them.
Don't be afraid of your freedom.
Prepare to unshackle your mind.
An idea whose time has come cannot be stopped by any army or any government.
Your professor has arrived. Tom Woods. Beware, citizen, you are now departing from the world of allowable opinion. The Tom Woods Show.
Welcome, everybody. It is Monday, October 28th, 2013. Tom Woods here, and today, as promised, we are talking to Glenn Jacobs, better known as Kane, the WWE wrestler. And I'm telling you, this guy, if you look at his professional life, his personal life, you almost can't believe all the things this guy does and is doing. On his Facebook page, I think I checked it about a week ago, he had 3.8 million likes back then. And just a few months ago, he and I were on a radio station together in Tennessee. And back then I checked and he had 2.8 million likes. So he's growing in popularity all the time. I thought he was already pretty darn popular a few months ago. And it's just unbelievable that this guy is also a well-known libertarian. He endorsed Ron Paul in 2008, 2012. And so I want to talk to him, but I want to tell you a little bit about him. First of all, if we were to list his wrestling awards, it would just take the entire program. That's not an exaggeration. It would take the entire program. He's the first wrestler to become the WWE champion, world champion, and ECW champion. He's won numerous singles championships during his career in the WWF/WWE. And he's also won multiple tag team championships. He's held the WWF World Tag Team Championship, WCW World Tag Team Championship, and WWE Tag Team Championship with various partners. He's got numerous records. It's unbelievable when you look at it. But also, he's owned a gym. He's been on the TV show The Weakest Link. He's taught grade school. He's been in the TV show Smallville, etc., etc. He was born in Madrid to a U.S. Air Force family stationed in Spain. He currently resides in Jefferson City, Tennessee, with his wife and 2 children. He also does charity work for St. Jude Children's Research Hospital in Memphis, Tennessee. And he has been generous enough to sit down with us today and answer a lot of your listener-supplied questions. Now, you're saying to yourself, hey, wait a minute, I never got to supply a question. Well, here's the secret. Well, here's the twofold secret to supplying questions here on the Tom Woods Show. First of all, follow me on Twitter, at Thomas E. Woods, and periodically I'll say, hey, everybody, I'm going to have so-and-so on. What should I ask? And then there you can answer me, and I'll try and get your question asked. Also, I open up threads on Facebook from time to time, and I say, hey, I'm having so-and-so, what question should I ask? So if you're not a Twitter person and you prefer Facebook, then like my page on Facebook, not by looking for me as Tom Woods, because I'm not on there as Tom Woods. That's my personal page, and I have too many friends. They won't let me add anymore. But you go to facebook.com/Thomas E. Woods, or just go to our show site, tomwoodsradio.com, and click like on the Facebook widget, and then you can take part in these threads. We had a thread for Kane. I got some interesting questions, things I didn't know about that I'm able to ask him. So I'm very glad to be able to turn right now to Kane. Glenn Jacobs, Kane himself, welcome to the program.
Thanks for having me on, Tom. It's a real pleasure.
All right, now, Glenn, I'm afraid I'm going to be asking some questions that you've probably answered a million times, but not everybody has heard the answers. And then I'm going to maybe ask some that you haven't been asked before. But the first question, of course, that everybody wants to have answered is, how did you become a libertarian? What was the path?
It was sort of a big circle, really. I remember one of my first memories when I was a kid was my parents talking about the evils of eminent domain. So maybe from the very start I was destined to be a libertarian. But then as I went through school and got to college, by the time I was at college, I'd been indoctrinated into socialist thinking. Then I got out into the real world, and I'm like, man, someone has to actually pay for this stuff, and it seems to be me a lot of the time.
Right.
So, but I sort of went between, am I a liberal, am I conservative, and back and forth. The problem was that I agreed with some things that, quote unquote, both sides of the political spectrum said, but on the other hand, I disagreed with various things that they said. And then a friend introduced me to the term libertarianism, and I'd never even heard of that before. This would have been in the late 1990s. And I just started doing some research, and I was like, man, I actually agree with like 90% or 99% of what these folks are saying. And at the time, I looked at liberty more as an ad hoc thing, okay, libertarian philosophy. That is, I agreed with some issues, and maybe I didn't agree with another issue per se, but I agreed with most of the issues. And then I realized that it really is a philosophy that we're talking about, the non-aggression axiom, that the government should be bound by the same moral laws that the rest of us are. Once you realize that, you're like, oh, your entire world opens up and your entire paradigm changes. And then, of course, along the way, I discovered Austrian economics, and that changed the way I looked at the world, too, because I discovered that everything is about economics, and there is no way to sort of compartmentalize human liberty into, okay, I have social liberty and I have economic freedom. No, they're the same thing. You have, if you don't have economic freedom, you don't have personal liberty. Vice versa. If you don't have personal liberty, you don't have economic freedom either.
So who were some of the people, the books that played a role in formulating your thinking?
There were a lot of folks. Harry Brown was very influential on me. Then, of course, Ron Paul, John Stossel, Peter Schiff, Tom Woods, and then I discovered a guy named Murray Rothbard.
Oh,
and, once you come across Rothbard, it's all over with.
It's all over.
Once the arguments he makes are so logical and they're so faultless that you really can't disagree with him.
All right, now I want to ask what people on Facebook and Twitter have been asking. Do you talk about this sort of stuff in the locker room with other people who are in your field? And do you talk to other wrestlers about this stuff? Do you find any of them are sympathetic? Or do you say, look, that's my personal life and here's my business life, and they don't meet?
Well, we're around each other so much, of course, we do talk about various things. It was actually a coworker, Sean Morley, that introduced me to the term libertarianism. And I do talk with the guys. More so, they actually seek me out now because they know that I'm into economics and finance. So they'll come and ask my opinion about various things because I've, sort of become well known as the libertarian guy in the locker room, I guess.
How well do you know Jesse Ventura?
I've only talked with Jesse a couple times. I actually gave him Ron Paul's and the Fed book personally, but I've only talked with Jesse about a handful of times.
Okay. Now, tell me, I didn't know anything about this, but somebody, again, on Facebook, thank heavens, I outsourced this. I say, all right, we got the great Kane coming on. What should we talk about? And somebody told me about this IP lawsuit years ago against what was then the WWF by the World Wildlife Fund. And they're saying that, do you know about this? The World Wildlife Fund wanted to be able to use WWF. They didn't want you guys using it, and the wrestlers lost. What do you know about that? What are your views on that?
Yeah, that happened when the internet was really coming into prominence. I think what happened, and I could be wrong about this, but basically both organizations wanted WWF.com. And I think actually World Wildlife Fund owned the copyright for WWF, and there was an agreement with us, with the wrestling company and the World Wildlife Fund, that they would allow us to use that. And then, of course, we both wanted the domain name WWF.com, and so we ended up switching our name to WWE so we could have WWE.com. I could be wrong about that, but that's my understanding of how the whole thing went down.
I mean, what do you think about this? I mean, do you have would you think that was right or wrong, or what are the rights and wrongs of this?
I don't know.
I don't want to get you in trouble with the World Wildlife Fund here.
Yeah. I know one thing, the panda bears beat us, which is quite ironic. The whole deal with intellectual property and all that, I mean, people can come down on either side of it. And then, of course, it is a bit of a property rights issue because there are, the internet domain names are a scarce resource. So, I just don't know the ins and outs of it enough to really be able to comment on it.
All right, that's fair enough. That's fair enough.
Yeah.
But I figured I should bring it up. Now, of course, the other thing everybody wants to know, and again, I'm sorry to burden you with it because you get it all the time, but do you have any political aspirations? And if so, what are they? And if not, why not?
I don't know if I have any political aspirations or not. We'll see what the future brings. People are always trying to get me to run for office. I think a lot of the reason for that is the success that Jesse Ventura had. I don't know if that is going to be my particular course. I think that the political system is irrevocably broken, unfortunately. I do not think that change is going to come from participating in electoral politics. I do believe that electoral politics offers a tremendous bullhorn and a great platform for people to get out and express the ideas that we express. I don't know. In fact, I doubt at this point in time if change for the better will actually come through electoral politics. So I concentrate more on education and more on outreach in that way, and really on marketing. And sometimes we use the term marketing when you think about it in a less than noble way. We think of the sleazy marketers. Well, that's not the case at all. Marketing is pointing out to individuals why they would benefit from a product. I think that we don't do a good job of that. We need to convince people why everyone benefits from liberty. And we often make the great logical arguments for liberty, but we don't make the emotional arguments. And I think that's something that we need to concentrate more on. So I don't know. It just depends on what the future brings. I mean, as Austrian economists say, the future is unpredictable, so I don't know where I'm going.
Now, I completely understand and respect that, and I also fear, especially if you were to run against Lamar Alexander, which, of course, would be fun to watch. I mean, it's easy for me to say. Go ahead, Kane, I'm right behind you. It's easy for me to say. And, of course, you would be smeared and attacked like you would not believe. It would be horrendous. And, of course, now you're a big, tough guy. I'm sure you could get through it, but it would be a really tough thing. That's not saying that you shouldn't do it or you should do it, but all the same, my feeling is that, yes, it doesn't seem likely that there is going to be a political solution, but then I'm not totally sure then what is the theory according to which we can solve our problems without politics? Can we really ever imagine that enough people will just withdraw their consent from the system and it simply collapses of its own weight? I mean, without politics, I understand that with politics it's not going to solve the problem, but then what? Like, what else? What is our alternative?
Yeah, sure, and that is a great question. That's something I struggle with myself.
Yeah.
My main thing is trying to change things at a local and a state level, because I think that's where you can have more impact. I think you would agree with me that the federal government is lost. There are too many special interests that control the electoral process, that control the politicians. And the states have to once again become that buffer that interposes themselves between the federal government and the residents of the states. That's something that I'm trying to concentrate more on, is getting people to look at state and local politics. And, I'm not for strong government at any level. However, trying to strengthen the state governments at the expense of the federal government, defunding, downsizing the federal government, and having the states interpose themselves, which is the way that our system of federalism was always supposed to have been, but unfortunately at some point in time it got lost.
All right, can I draw out from you the word nullification? Are you okay with that word?
Yeah. I think nullification would be a very good thing. And frankly, the states are starting to do it to some extent, and they're talking about it. And even blue states with their marijuana laws are talking about it. So certainly I think, if we say that people should have the right to self-governance and the right to self-determination, that would necessarily then introduce the idea that when the central government does something which is contrary to the wishes of the people of a certain state, that the people of that state should be able to do something about it or to say something about it. And with this whole Obamacare deal, this thing is an abject failure already. It's already collapsing under its own weight. I don't think it can actually be implemented because it's, just so clumsy and just so awkward. But, that would have been a great opportunity for the states, and hopefully some still do, to step forward and say, we're not going to participate in this, and we're not going to make our residents and our citizens participate in this particular program.
All right, I want to get back to your own situation. I want to talk about, you endorsed Ron Paul in his 2 presidential runs. Now, had you already sort of come out, so to speak, as a libertarian in the public eye, or was that the moment at which you did it?
No, I had already come out before that, but that was sort of what really raised my profile.
Okay.
Because, of course, Ron Paul, his impact on our movement has just been amazing. It's been spectacular. I think that he has converted more people, and I shouldn't use the word convert. He has made more people realize that they are libertarians, perhaps than anyone in history, with the Ron Paul revolution and all the things that it launched. So for me, it was a bit maybe of a springboard into the public consciousness a bit more.
Now, how did that come about? I mean, did you contact them and say, I want to endorse, or did they come to you?
I contacted them. It's funny the way the world works, Tom. You meet one person and he knows this guy and they know this person and this person knows this person. That's sort of what it was. I met some folks that actually knew some people in Dr. Paul's office, and from there I started meeting all sorts of folks in the libertarian world.
All right, now I have a question that comes to me right from the producer of this program, and that is this. He writes, in my experience, professional athletes are easier to bring to the ideas of liberty and free market economics, perhaps due to the high degree of self-sacrifice and excellence that is demanded in their profession. Has this been your experience?
One advantage that we have, and I'm sure it's true of other athletes as well, is that we're independent contractors. Now, if you listen to the liberal media, that's the worst thing in the world, because we aren't provided with health care and retirement funds and all this various stuff. But I think it's great because I can actually determine what I do with my money. It's up to me. I get to make those decisions. Well, the other thing is that we are not subject to tax withholding, which if there was one thing that I could do, if I ever became president for a day, and actually the president doesn't have this power, but if I became dictator for a day and I could repeal one act, it would be the tax withholding, because we actually have to write a check out to the IRS 4 times a year, every quarter. And that will make you find religion real quick when you're the one writing the check, as opposed to not seeing the money that you don't get because it's on the bottom of your pay stub. So in that way, I found a lot of our guys, they know how much they pay in taxes. They know exactly how much they pay in taxes. So they may pay a bit more attention to how the government wastes that money than folks that don't actually know how much they pay in taxes, and celebrate when they get a refund because they don't realize that it was their money to begin with.
Well, of course, in my profession where I don't have a fixed salary from any source, I'm in exactly your position. I make the payment every few months, and it's just painful. It's huge amounts that I'm basically opening the window and throwing them out.
And you're looking at it going, man, what could I do with that money that would be constructive, not only in my own life, but reinvest it in business, or do all sorts of stuff that helps other people. And I'm not wasting the money because I'm doing it to benefit myself. The only way I can really benefit myself is by helping other people.
And of course, I could just simply spend more time with the family. If I could have more leisure time, and not be doing interviews and stuff when I'm. Of course, I don't earn anything from this program, but I'm driven constantly, and I still work even when I'm not feeling well and everything. It'd be nice to take a break from that, and I could if I didn't have to pay so much in taxes. And when we get told that we're undertaxed as a country, I just want to belt this person. But then I remember I don't believe in that.
Yeah, it's that. What is it that? Medieval serfs paid about 25% of their crops to the estate lord, to the manor lord, and Americans are paying 50% in taxes by the time you figure up income tax and then all the various state and local taxes. And to think that we're not, overtaxed is insane. And then the whole idea, the whole premise of taxation needs to be examined. It's based on theft. I mean, no matter what the leftists may say and what government officials say, I don't have that much choice in the matter. The money is expropriated for me, whether I like it or not. And if I don't pay, I get fined, or I go to jail, or I may be killed. So, we have to examine the whole idea, the whole premise upon which taxation lies. And once you do that, you realize that any tax rate is actually overtaxation.
All right, can I ask you now, I got two tough questions in a row that you may not want to go on the record on, but we'll see how you feel. The first one is, would you describe yourself as a Rothbardian in terms of a totally no-state person, or are you more of a minarchist, founding fathers kind of guy?
I would be a theoretical Rothbardian.
Nice.
Yes.
Okay.
I think for practical purposes in our lifetime, of course, it's going to be very hard to get there, and I would welcome opportunities to downsize this state.
Right.
But on a theoretical level, I think that is the most moral system, and also I do believe that it's achievable.
All right. Now, the other question is, what is your opinion when we see all these in various other sports? We see congressional hearings regarding steroid use. What is your view about all that?
Well, first of all, the federal government shouldn't be involved in that. It's not in the Constitution. So, they shouldn't be involved in an unconstitutional paradigm. I don't take steroids myself. I never have. I think that they do pose a health risk. The WWE has a very strong drug policy at this point, which I applaud them for. And, I guess, Tom, philosophically, I look at it, and my deal with sports is I've always been attracted to the story. Like, I remember when Kirk Gibson hit the home run that beat the Oakland A's, because the Dodgers were these massive underdogs against the A's in the World Series, and Kirk Gibson hits this home run, and it's like a miracle. And then in the Rocky movies, you have this underdog who works harder, and it's about the human spirit. And unfortunately, I think that we've taken that aspect out of sports, and sports has become just like a video game. I mean, you got these athletes who are great athletes, but the idea of competition and the idea of working towards a goal and the idea of overcoming, which was always what attracted me to sports, have been somewhat lost at this point.
What's the typical retirement age of somebody in the WWE?
It really depends. Because our business, is based a lot on drama, you can keep on going for quite a while. There is a lot of it self-imposed. I mean, the guys have enough pride to be okay when they reach a point to where they can't perform maybe to the level that they would like to. That's when a lot of the guys decide to hang it up. But it really does vary by the individual.
All right, and I've just for my own curiosity's sake, can you give us an indication in your own case of what your workout regimen would be like? What the workout regimen of a professional wrestler is?
I work out 5 to 7 days a week. I do a lot more cardio now than I did when I'm younger, because I find that I can put weight on really easily, but it's hard for me to keep the fat off, especially as I get older. And what I do is I train one body part with weights per day. That varies. Sometimes I also do circuit training where you train your entire body like every other day. When I was younger, I lifted heavy all the time, and I still probably go heavier than most people would in the gym, but I don't go as heavy as I used to because my joints can't take it anymore. I think that the main thing is just getting into the gym and being consistent, and not only for my profession, but also for my life in general, and just trying to take care of myself, not only in the gym, but also with my diet and all that sort of stuff.
Where can people read your libertarian articles?
At LouRockwell.com, I have a number of articles, and also I write about every 2 weeks for thedailycaller.com. And these aren't necessarily, the Daily Caller is more of a conservative website, but it has very strong libertarian leanings. So those might be considered a little bit more on the conservative side, but I try to weave in threads of libertarianism when I write for them as well.
Nice. Well, Glenn Jacobs, I can't thank you enough for doing this. You're a ridiculous hero of mine, and I can't help mentioning, of course, and I wouldn't have put you on the spot like this if it weren't for the fact that you mentioned this on the radio when you and I were on the radio together in Tennessee not long ago, that you actually are a member of LibertyClassroom.com. That is awesome. You're the most famous member we have.
I have to tell everybody this story. So Tom is nice enough to come on to a radio show in which the host had allowed me, this is the biggest talk station in Knoxville, and the morning host had allowed me to bring on some of the luminaries in the libertarian movement. So I asked Tom if he'd come onto the show, and he was kind enough to do so. And then at the end of the show, he gives a discount for the Liberty Classroom, a significant discount if they type in Kane, my wrestling name, in all caps into the discount window on Liberty Classroom. Well, the thing was, I told Tom, I was like, I've been a member for months. I don't get the discount. What are you doing?
Well, I'll just say right now that Kane gets a free lifetime membership to the site. If I just remember to implement it, he'll get it. So that's great.
And by the way, Liberty Classroom is great. I've learned more from the various courses that you have there over maybe the 2 weeks that it takes me to listen to the podcast and read some of the other material than I ever did in high school or college. So you are providing a great service, Liberty Classroom. I think it's absolutely awesome.
Well, that's very generous of you to say. And you being such a high-profile person who is fearless in advocating the principles of liberty, we're very much in your debt. Thanks again for being here today.
Okay, thanks, Tom.
All right, that's all the time we have for the program for today. But tomorrow, join us for Ron Paul here on the program. I also solicited questions from you guys for that. So make sure and tune in every day. We broadcast the program for the first time at the show site, tomwoodsradio.com at noon Eastern, with a Facebook comment feature built in while you're listening. And after that, you can listen to it in our archive at tomwoodsradio.com or by subscribing on iTunes, which I super appreciate when you do that. We've had a very good showing on the iTunes chart. And also, Kane mentioned, or I should say Glenn mentioned in the program, a coupon code Kane, which is no longer valid, but you guys, listeners of the program, have access to coupon code SHOW for libertyclassroom.com. Libertyclassroom.com, now endorsed by Glenn Jacobs himself, is where you can learn the history and economics they didn't teach you and get a discount with coupon code SHOW in all caps. Don't forget Ron Paul tomorrow. We will ask him a little bit about his current activities, and then we're just going to pelt him with listener-supplied questions. So you're not going to want to miss that tomorrow, noon Eastern. TomWoodsRadio.com. Subscribe on iTunes. Thanks for listening, everybody. We'll see you then.
The Tom Woods Show.